everybody, Web3 fans. Welcome back to another episode of the DAO ENVELOP Podcast. We continue to explore what the heck is going on right now in the Web3 space by talking with Web3 professionals. We invite and show them their answers. And this is one of the amazing way of learning of Web3. We are still in the beginning. I'm your host, student Crypto MC, and please welcome my guest. He is Wasif Rahman. He is the senior manager of Web3 marketing at Gala Games. And by the way, he's experienced writer in Web3. We will cover this topic in the end of the podcast. Please check his link on his Medium. Recently, he wrote an amazing post, how to learn about Web3. We'll cover it in the end. So thank you very much, Wasif, for joining us today. It's great to have you on our podcast.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
So recently, as I was reading your post on LinkedIn, you experienced a big challenge in your Web3 life. Tell us your story and Web3. How did you start in this realm? What have you already done? And how do you feel yourself, man, of this amazing realm?
Yeah, well, my background is in influencer marketing. So I've spent the last 5 years prior to my experiences in Web3 working in the influencer economy. So I used to set up sponsorships for YouTubers, Twitch streamers, and podcasts at that time. And, during my stint in the creator economy, I had the opportunity to work with some pretty massive content creators. When I hit certain milestones in my career, like I had a chance to work with PewDiePie, Casey Neistat, and Mr. Beast, I started to really think about what was next for me. Those are some of the biggest creators you could work with in the space. And really, I began to wonder about other challenges that I could potentially take on. It was around this time last year that I started learning about crypto. And really, my interest in crypto grew as a result of me learning about NFTs. I'd been a lifelong gamer, played video games, much more than I should have probably. When I learned about NFTs, I immediately saw the potential for Web3 gaming. My immediate thinking was that, hey, some of the rare items that I'd acquired in World of Warcraft, for example, or some of the rare skins that I'd acquired in League of Legends, when I finally stopped playing those games, if I could have maybe sold some of those digital assets on a secondary market, maybe I could have recouped some of the, investments that I'd made into these games. And really, that was kind of the initial premise that I was working with. I definitely saw the potential for Web3 gaming to change the landscape by allowing people to own the things that they invested their time into. Beyond that, I've also been a lifelong collector and player of trading card games. So I grew up playing Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! And then, Magic the Gathering is a trading card game I still play to this day. And much of the trading card market operates in a way that's very similar to NFTs. If you look at the market for very rare trading cards, whether it's in the realm of Pokemon or in like old school Magic the Gathering cards, there's really a finite amount of high quality cards left from the very old eras where those cards are extremely rare and really high in demand, and they all trade on secondary markets like eBay, often for a lot of money. And so I was very accustomed to that world as I continued to collect cards throughout my life, and I saw the analogy of how my knowledge base with trading cards could be applied to the NFT realm. I began heavily investing my time into crypto and NFTs and began learning about it by just hanging out with my friends, and we'd gather, once a week, and we'd talk about everything we'd learned in the space. I realized at a certain point that I'd learned enough that I could potentially, do a career switch, which was pretty daunting because, I'd already invested 5 years of my life into a specific career track, and for me to just basically abandon that and take the leap into Web3 was definitely a challenge. But I quit my job back in November of last year, and I just studied crypto and Web3 for 2 months straight, basically. And by study, I mean I basically watched YouTube videos and listened to podcasts because there was no formal method for me to educate myself about the space. But yeah, basically spent 2 months doing that and interviewing at a lot of Web3 companies, and then I landed at X Populous, which is a Web3 gaming company in the space. I was initially working for them on their influencer marketing side because that was my background. background. That's what I'd done prior. But very quickly, I was able to work on many different aspects of the marketing at Xpopulous, including performance marketing, social media marketing, content marketing. And perhaps the thing that I had the biggest impact on was business development, where I worked with various different NFT communities to kind of pitch what Xpopulous was doing and set up allow listing campaigns to make sure we sell out our upcoming NFT drops. But yeah, that's kind of, encapsulates my time in the Web3 space.
This is an amazing story. I just see a lot of similarities in our lives because we are both influencers. We are both content makers. We are both come from the economy space, and we are also the musicians. You are the drum player and the guitarist, and we are both the Bankless fans. Because you mentioned Bankless Podcast. Why do you love Bankless? Why do you love Ryan Adams and David Hoffman? Why these guys are impressing you so much?
Yeah, so it was interesting, when I'd mentioned the 2 months I'd spent kind of learning about crypto, I was listening to a lot of the Modern Finance podcast, which is the podcast that Kevin Rose had started up, covering specifically the crypto and Web3 space before he started focusing on Proof, which was his NFT podcast. And I believe the Bankless guys were on the Modern Finance podcast one day, and I just found it fascinating kind of listening to them. I thought that they were incredibly knowledgeable. The way they spoke about the crypto and Web3 space was, at the same time informative, but also accessible. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges with getting into Web3, especially as somebody who's new. There's a lot of vocabulary, a lot of new things to kind of understand. And I don't think a whole lot of people do a good job of making it easy for new people to understand. And I found the guys at Bankless did a great job of that. And I very quickly kind of checked out their podcast after listening to them on Modern Finance. And that basically started this strange binge where I think I had a trip coming up, a 6-hour flight. I downloaded 4 or 5 of their podcasts before that flight. And I got on the plane and just put on the podcast. And before I knew it, I had landed at my stop and had just consumed like 6 hours of crypto content. And it just, became a trend for me. Almost every single day I would listen to one of their shows until I basically ran out of podcast episodes to listen to.
That sounds amazing, really amazing. So as I do understand, you are not regretting that you completely got devoted your life to Web3, if I'm not mistaken, yes? And what excites you most in Web3?
Well, that's a complicated question. I love this space, but I have some valid concerns about the stability of Web3 as as an industry overall. When I had gotten into it, obviously I knew about the multiple times that crypto had crashed prior, and people who had lost their life savings, people who had lost their jobs. And I think my thinking around the time, and this was late 2021, was, okay, this industry is so big now, there has to be some level of stability here now where I can make that adjustment. I can jump onto the space. But as we saw over the last 2 months, I was dead wrong. This industry is not as stable as it needs to be for people to have, kind of a sense of place and a sense of security, because over the last 2 months there's been so many layoffs in this space, and I was somebody who was personally affected by that, despite being told for a very long time at Xpopulous that we had the runway for the entire year. A good third of our company was just let go out of nowhere, and I spent the last 6 weeks job hunting in probably one of the worst climates in the Web3 space, and it was really tough, getting rejected from so many companies, and also just seeing hiring freezes at every corner, and I was competing with sometimes up to 200 people for a single job position because there were so many other Web3 professionals who were also laid off during this time. At the end of the day, it worked out. I got a job at Gala. I'm super excited about it. However, there's still so many people I know, not only from Xpopulous, but other places in the space where, folks have been laid off and they're still job hunting right now. And it's tough to tell when they'll be able to find stable ground in the future. So on the one hand, I have no regrets, but at the same time, I really feel like a lot needs to change before this is the type of industry that a lot of people could feel comfortable entering into, especially if they're looking for some semblance of safety and security.
Well, I sincerely wish you good luck on this complicated path, but you follow your impressions, your idea, your internal feelings. This is the most important thing I do see. What should we know about your joining Gala Games? What is Gala Games, and what do you plan? How do you plan to help this company to grow?
Yeah, so I'm getting started in about a week, so there's not too many details that I can share, but Gala Games is the, at the very top of the food chain, if you will, for play to earn gaming. And, they've got many different high quality games in production. I think it's close to 30 at this point. And they're hoping to launch a lot of these games over the next couple of months. I think my specific role, I'm not fully sure on exactly what I'll be doing, but I imagine I'll be helping on the business development side and marketing side to try and help promote these games as they're nearing launch. As far as my aspirations for what I want to do at Gala Games, I've always been somebody who's wanted to be at the cutting edge of anything that I work on. When I got into the creator economy in my previous role, that entire industry was brand new. It really felt like the wild west at the time, and I love that because a part of being in an industry that's brand new is that you kind of get to create the rules as you go along. There's not as much established format where you just kind of shut your brain off and you just follow what everybody else is doing. And I think that's what similarly excites me about Web3 is that a lot of the rules for how this entire industry operates are being written right now. And that makes me super excited to be at a place like Gala, where there's so many skilled and talented people right now innovating in the Web3 gaming space. So I hope to first and foremost learn from a lot of those people about what they're working on, and then also bring some of the skill sets that I have to the space as well. And I think the other thing about Gala that's really impressive to me is that their ambition is not just limited to gaming. I think they're also expanding into music and entertainment, and that's a very ambitious move for a Web3 company right now. So I'm very excited to see what they have in store for the future.
Absolutely. As we are both marketers, de facto marketers in Web3 realm, how do you see the main difference of Web3 marketing from Web2 or even another business, not just marketing? From the outside, we operate in the same realm, in the same internet and same browsers, social media. From the other side, different community, different problems. What is your vision on the specific of Web3 marketing, and what recommendations would you give for all Web3 guys, Web3 projects who have been doing some stuff in Web3 regarding marketing?
Yeah, that's an excellent question, and it's one that I think about quite a bit. I think, fundamentally with marketing, there is a lot that crosses over from Web2 to Web3. I think data analytics is always going to be important as far as marketing is concerned. You always want access to high quality data. And I think in the Web2 realm, there were certain types of data sets that were always super important. Like I looked at age, gender, geography as like the primary basis for how I would target anybody for a given campaign. But I think what fundamentally changed from Web2 to Web3 is that you no longer have access to that type of data, because now it's all based around your wallet address, and sometimes you have no idea, who's holding the wallet, where they live, what their gender is, how old they are. You have to make a lot of decisions based around their purchase behavior, which is kind of interesting because that data, their purchase history exists on the blockchain effectively, right? So while you lose access to some of the key data sets that were super important for the Web2 realm, you have access to a whole new set of data points that you didn't have access to prior. So I think, as far as the transition from Web2 marketing to Web3, I think it's important to just kind of shift your mindset a little bit and prioritize other types of data sets that are now accessible to you and really utilize those data sets to make informed decisions. I think the other key difference, as I noted before, with Web2, the marketing tech stack had really been established and fleshed out by the time I exited that space. There were a lot of tools that existed for marketers to make very informed decisions about how they chose to run their campaigns. However, in Web3 right now, the tech stack doesn't exist. Marketers at the very moment are trying to figure out how to build great platforms with really great data sets that will make it easier for people to advertise and market effectively. But I think a lot of that tech is maybe about a year out from being fully implemented. So at the moment, we're still trying to iterate and figure it out. But I do think that within a year to two's time, we'll have a lot of that marketing tech stack built out.
Absolutely. You have mentioned the crucial moments and the difference of Web3 and Web2, because you cannot use the same marketing models of acquiring the data like you experienced to do that in Web3, in Web2, and in Web3. In Web3, you don't see anything besides the wallets in different blockchains. This is a crucial point. So, Wasif, you mentioned you have a strong NFT background. This is amazing. How do you see the evolution of potential of NFT in play to earn space?
Yeah, I think the problem with NFTs right now is that they're static and immutable, if you will, right? A given NFT, there's not much you can do to adjust its traits or make any changes to it once it's actually been minted and it's out on the blockchain. I think the real potential with NFTs and the evolution of the space is going to come with, smart NFTs. This is something that has not been fully deployed yet. There are some artists and some organizations that are experimenting with smart NFTs at this given moment. And by smart NFTs, I'm referring to, there's an entire broad spectrum of different types of smart NFTs. But I think at its core, a smart NFT is something that can simultaneously live on the blockchain and have some immutable characteristics, but also have a component to them that can be changed and adjusted over time. And I think once smart NFTs are much more prevalent within this space, that's going to really change the landscape of this technology as we know it. And I think smart NFTs overall, they not only have applications in the art space. For example, Beeple is an artist who is experimenting with smart NFT technology for some of his art pieces, and he now has art pieces that exist that he intends to work on for the foreseeable future, which is a really interesting premise for somebody who's maybe holding a Beeple piece, that they may have an art piece that evolves over time. But if you also, maybe apply that same notion to the gaming space, you may have digital assets that are part of your video game that can change and adjust over time as you continue to play the game, or maybe you take that digital asset from one game to another, and maybe have some of the traits about that NFT change given the game that you're going to. I think there's a ton of potential with that. And I think, I'm very excited to see what the landscape looks like within a year from now, when I think smart NFTs are going to be much more prevalent.
This sounds amazing. If I'm not mistaken, these things are also called a dynamic NFT, because this mutability is not very big, very, very good feature for we are tired with immutability. We need NFT to be something changeable. And right here, I would love to ask you the professional question from our ENVELOP team, because we're building the protocol for wrapping NFT, and this allows NFT to become more smarter. So we call it wrapping protocol. It sounds quite simple. So we take original NFT, we add any fungible tokens inside as collateral for value predictability, because if you have, let's say 10 or 20 BUSD or ETH inside NFT, its price becomes at least predictable, not less than its collateral. So we add useful features such as time or event lock, royalties, rental mechanics, and so on and so forth. And all this leads to dozens of use cases of NFTs, like in play to earn and in any places. We'll try to explore this now. What are your main thoughts on this concept? Do you find it useful? Does it make NFT more smarter, more useful, creates more utility and more price predictability? Give me your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think, first of all, any level of innovation as it pertains to, building out dynamic NFTs, I think is worth the endeavor, because right now, the NFT space, there's a lot of innovation happening, but it's not happening at a rate that I think is going to pave the way for a future where there's mass adoption, right? So working on NFT technology to build more dynamic digital assets that have layered use cases and maybe a broader use case, I think is a very significant endeavor. In terms of one of the things that you mentioned about like time-locked NFTs, where you create a digital asset that you're able to effectively rent out to somebody and then it's returned to you at a given time signature, I think that's super powerful, especially with within the play-to-earn gaming space. Because if you look at something like Axie, where you have the Scholar program, right? It kind of functions in a similar way where, you have these scholars that are able to use certain digital assets that other folks hold and use those digital assets to make progress in the game. That notion could be applied to many different games. And I think these time-locked NFTs that effectively create a contract where you're able to rent this out to somebody, they can utilize your digital asset in a game and it's automatically returned to you at a given time. That has really powerful applications as the play-to-earn economy is being built out. I think that's one of the primary things I think about quite a bit as far as smart NFTs, but I'm sure there's many, many other applications for this technology. But regardless, I think, it's going to be really interesting to observe this space and see how this tech is developed and applied over time.
I'd love to ask you about your learning strategy, because recently you wrote an amazing post on your Medium, and I'll put the link on it in the description, named Accelerating Your Web3 Learning Curve with the Braveness podcast on your footer. And here you described your reevaluating your learning strategy. Tell us more. How do you prefer to learn for Web3 for now, and what recommendations would you give to the newcomers of Web3 who realize that Web3 is not just a Web3 begins or NFT? It requires a lot of learning on an everyday basis. So your answer.
Yeah, so it's amazing to see the reception that Medium article has had. I did not expect that to be one of my strongest performing Medium articles when I wrote it. But yeah, I think it made me realize that there are a lot of other folks who are looking to accelerate their learning curve in this space. But some of the things that I outlined there, I think my number one recommendation initially was to start an alpha chat with your friends. And by alpha chat, I mean like get together with your friends and just regularly talk about crypto. So how that started was that I had two other friends that were interested in the crypto space, and almost nobody else I knew really cared about this space. And we would gather once a week. And basically what we did was we would each choose a topic. So my one friend, he would choose like complex Web3 concepts, like proof of work or proof of stake. And that was complex for me at the time. I was very new. I obviously understand that stuff now, but his job was to explain these like core concepts about Web3 to the rest of us. My other friend, he really loved altcoins or shitcoins. His whole thing was making a lot of money by trading shitcoins to make significant returns. And so he would cover shitcoins like at the time Shiba Inu, and he was also really into Pilu Inu, like all the weird like dog coins was his whole thing. I was really interested in gaming and NFTs. And so what we do is once a week, we get together, we do like a little short slide deck, and we basically present our learnings to each other to try and educate the other folks that are part of the alpha chat. And I've since taken that idea and I've kind of grown it over time. And so we have a Telegram channel now where there's like more than 30 of us. All of us are Web3 professionals. Some of us are in finance, some of us are in gaming. And the entire objective of that Telegram channel is for us to constantly drop in news and updates about all things happening in the Web3 space. So that was kind of the first recommendation. I think my second recommendation was to create a good Web3 newsfeed. So every morning I wake up and I immediately go to like CoinDesk, Cointelegraph, Bloomberg, just all of the publications that are covering Web3 in a meaningful way. I think it's imperative for my growth as a Web3 professional to be informed about all of the things that are happening in this space. And especially over the last 2 months with so many companies effectively collapsing, there's just a lot of news to go around. So I spend a lot of time every morning just trying to make sure that I stay informed on what's happening. My third recommendation, and as you noted with Bankless, I think it's super important to watch high quality content creators. So, in terms of the content creators I watch on a regular basis, obviously the Bankless podcast is phenomenal. I watch a ton of Coin Bureau. I think he really does a great job of, making Web3 information very digestible. In addition to that, in the NFT space, I avidly listen to the Proof podcast, and then, the Nifty Alpha show, which is like my morning show. I wake up every morning and start listening to that at 9 o'clock. And I think my final recommendation as far as accelerating your learning curve revolves around writing. This was not something that was intuitive for me initially, because, I was just consuming just so much Web3 content. I realized at a certain point that I wasn't great at taking all of the things that I was learning and then being able to convey it in an articulate manner. I think what writing forced me to do was not only just like digest that content, but really engage with it and spend some time actively researching the information. And that process of taking this, information that's sometimes a little complex and trying to write about it and make it digestible for others really helped embed a lot of that information into my brain and allowed me to become a lot more vocal and articulate about the things that I was learning about. So, those are my 4 primary recommendations as far as ways in which you can accelerate your Web3 learning curve.
I'd love to share the professional feedback to you. I see a lot of speakers sorry, I say, but you express your thoughts on Web3 very, very clearly. And this is, I'm 100% sure, because of writing. Because when you write your thoughts, you are getting a more clear picture. You collect your thoughts into the one focus and you are bringing it out. And this reflects on your expression, on your thoughts, verbally and writingly. Amazing, man. I really appreciate it. So finally, Wasif, how to follow you? What's the best way to follow you on the internet or reach you personally for any business inquiries or proposals if you are accepting it?
Yeah, so I'm available on LinkedIn, Twitter, Telegram, and Discord. I have the same handle everywhere. It's Wasif Rahman. If there's anybody that wants to learn more about the space or just wants to have a conversation, I'm always open to having a chat. And more than anything else, I love to help onboard people into the Web3 space. I think that this entire industry has tremendous potential. I don't think it's the type of industry that people should feel intimidated by. I still believe that, there's a bit more stability that's required in this space before people make the jump to try and switch their careers over, because, sometimes things don't work out the way you intend. But I'm still very bullish for how things are going to look from 2 to 3 years from now, as far as the entire Web3 industry is concerned. So don't hesitate to reach out. It's again at Wasif Rahman.
Absolutely. All the links are in the description. You may reach Wasif wherever you like. And I am 100% confident that this episode will encourage some of its viewers and listeners to look into the Web3 realm if they are not still there, because Web3, it is not even our future, it is our present. This is our reality. So Wasif Rahman from Gala Games, for now, and YouTube Crypto MC were with you on this episode of the DAO and NFTs Podcast. Please like, subscribe, share, and join Bankless Podcast, because we may strictly recommend these guys. They are amazing. It is not strange that some from other podcasts recommend our colleagues, because we are not competitors. We are builders. We create this industry. Where so few of us, please join Web3 movement and be the part of that. Join the community, use the products, and be with us, stay with us. Thank you for watching and listening, and be subscribed on our YouTube channel. Stay tuned for the next episodes of the DAO and NFTs Podcast. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for having me, Eugene.
Blockchain. BLOCK chain. Digital money, smart contracts, NFT, IDO, decentralization, transparency. So many opportunities, but so many challenges. Some financial manipulators, by their actions, confuse blockchain solutions and block their development. The idea that the blockchain should bring copyright and royalties protection to the next level is quite old, but the realizations of these ideas are not perfect at all. There is another problem of determining the value of a particular cryptocurrency or NFT. These and other problems need to be solved. Fortunately, the blockchain infrastructure is evolving. My name is E, Mr. E, and I represent the ENVELOP project. Many things have already been invented in the blockchain today. Tokens, smart contracts, platforms for creating your own coins, NFTs, exchanges for buying, selling, and exchanging all these blockchain resources. ENVELOP is another step in the development of crypto technologies, the protocol that works with NFT and cryptocurrencies. The idea is simple but disruptive. Let's assume you have an NFT, Bitcoin and Ethereum. Using the ENVELOP protocol, you can wrap the original NFT accompanied with several tokens. Technically, you get a similar NFT, but what is the breakthrough here? Once wrapped, the token has a number of additional features that were not available before. The minimal cost appears. It is provided with coins wrapped together with NFT. An asset wrapped with ENVELOP has a number of properties that allow the original author to receive royalties from the resale of that asset. Various rules can be applied to the wrapped token. For example, a lock period for unwrapping. It secures the asset till the determined moment or safeguards it from speculation during the hype period. At the same time, wrapped tokens can be transferred and traded. These are just some of the scenarios for using ENVELOP. NFTs become more popular, and the tools provided by ENVELOP expand the opportunities of NFTs utilization. Wide application possibilities are achieved due to the fact that, in addition to the protocol, the project includes a number of subsystems. The protocol provides functions wrapping and unwrapping. Oracle mechanics provides asset valuation using analytical algorithms. Index provides a summary assessment of several NFT assets with the common criteria. The project has its own token, which connects all elements of the system. Altogether, this is ENVELOP, a tool in the blockchain world for building modern and secure systems in various fields. Find more info about the project on the website. ENVELOP. Make your NFT valuable. Just practical, no hype.